If the power went out tonight, not for hours, but for days, would you actually survive it? FEMA says most Americans wouldn't. In fact, a 2024 FEMA survey found that 61% of U.S. households have less than 3 days of emergency supplies, and nearly half don't even own a flashlight that works. The truth is, America's grid is old. Dangerously old. Over 70% of transmission lines are past their intended lifespan, and just last year, more than 210 major blackouts were reported nationwide. From cyber attacks to extreme weather, the risks are multiplying fast. That's why FEMA quietly released an updated list of the 10 critical items every home must have before the next blackout. These aren't luxury prepper gadgets. They're the bare minimum to stay alive when the grid collapses. So if you think your pantry and phone charger are enough, think again. Because when the lights go out, your preparation is the only thing standing between safety and chaos. 10. Portable power station. When the grid dies, your entire world shrinks to whatever light and power you can generate yourself. And that's why FEMA has been quietly urging Americans to invest in a portable power source, whether it's a solar generator, a power station, or a heavy-duty battery bank. These aren't luxuries anymore. They're lifelines. During the Texas freeze of 2021, more than 4.5 million homes lost power, and temperatures dropped below zero. Over 200 people died. Not from lack of food or water, but from hypothermia and carbon monoxide poisoning while trying to stay warm. A simple power unit could have kept heaters, phones, and medical devices running. Now the average portable power station can charge phones 40+ times, keep LED lights running for 100 hours, or even power a mini fridge for 2 days straight. FEMA's updated 2024 Readiness Bulletin even mentions off-grid power options for families with members who rely on medical devices like oxygen concentrators or insulin refrigeration. Look for lithium iron phosphate Life PO4 models. They last 3,000+ charge cycles compared to the 500 you get from older lithium-ion units. Pair one with a 100-watt solar panel, and you've just turned a blackout into a sustainable survival setup. Prices have dropped 30% since 2020 thanks to competition from brands like Bluetti and EcoFlow. And here's something FEMA doesn't say, but preppers know: keep a 12-volt inverter in your car. It lets you pull juice straight from your vehicle's battery, one of the most underused emergency power sources out there. 9. Fire extinguishers and fireproof gear. Here's a FEMA tip that doesn't get enough attention. After a disaster, fire becomes one of the most common secondary killers. Gas leaks, downed lines, candles, and backup stoves turn homes into tinderboxes. During California's 2020 rolling blackouts, more than 1,500 house fires were reported in just 2 weeks, most caused by generators or open flames. FEMA advises every household to keep at least one ABC-rated fire extinguisher per floor. ABC means it can handle trash, wood, flammable liquids, and electrical fires, the trifecta of blackout hazards. But here's what most people miss. Extinguishers expire. Every 6 to 12 years, the pressure drops and the contents clump. Check that gauge. If the needle isn't in the green, it's dead weight. FEMA also recommends keeping a fire blanket, especially in kitchens or near generators. They smother flames instantly and work better than water on grease or electrical fires. Another overlooked lifesaver? Fire-resistant safes and document bags. FEMA's Recovery Division found that after the 2021 Marshall Fire in Colorado, 80% of victims who stored documents in rated bags recovered insurance and identification within a week, compared to 40% for others. And let's talk air safety. Even small fires can fill a room with deadly particulates. Keep a compact battery-powered air purifier if someone in your home has asthma or heart issues. Fires kill by suffocation more often than by burns. That's not drama, that's data. 8. Protective clothing and footwear. When chaos hits, what you wear might save your life. FEMA's emergency guidelines stress protective gear, sturdy boots, gloves, and layered clothing, because when infrastructure collapses, even a minor injury can turn lethal. Think about this. After the 2011 Joplin tornado, over 900 injuries came from debris punctures, broken glass, and nails, not from the tornado itself. Your hands and feet are your survival tools. Protect them. Keep a pair of steel-toe boots, thick-soled shoes, and cut-resistant gloves in your emergency kit. If you live in cold climates, thermal layers and waterproof shells are non-negotiable. Hypothermia can set in at 50 °C if you're wet and immobile, and it kills faster than dehydration. FEMA even recommends a dust and chemical-resistant outer layer, like Tyvek suits for areas near chemical plants or wildfire zones. Don't forget eye protection. Debris storms, sparks, and shattered glass can blind you in seconds. FEMA's 2024 safety update added respiratory-compatible goggles to their shelter-in-place checklist for good reason. And yes, keep extra socks. Dry feet prevent fungal infections and frostbite. If you're building a car kit, throw in work gloves, a poncho, and a reflective vest. Search and rescue crews prioritize visibility, and bright clothing could literally save you from being overlooked. You can survive without electricity. You can survive without gas, but you can't survive without mobility, and that starts with your clothing. 7. Cash and important documents. In a blackout, the digital world shuts down. ATMs don't work. Credit cards fail. Even your phone's banking app becomes useless without Wi-Fi. FEMA has been crystal clear. Keep cash on hand. Small bills, preferably 10s, 5s, and 1s, because during disasters, nobody's making change. The Department of Homeland Security estimates that 60% of Americans have less than $100 cash in their homes. That's terrifying when you realize gas stations and grocery stores often switch to cash-only mode during outages. FEMA suggests storing at least $200, $500 in emergency cash, sealed in waterproof bags, split into multiple stashes. Don't keep it all in one spot. Divide it between your go bag, safe, and vehicle. But it's not just about money. Keep paper copies of critical documents, IDs, insurance policies, home deeds, medical info, and contact lists. After Hurricane Harvey, thousands of survivors spent months proving ownership to access aid because they lost all their paperwork. FEMA even created an emergency financial first aid kit, downloadable for free, to help you organize and duplicate essential records. Use fireproof pouches rated to at least 2,000 degree Kelvin. Pro tip: backup digital versions on an encrypted flash drive, not the cloud. You may not have internet for weeks. Remember, in a post-blackout economy, barter takes over fast. A stack of cash, some batteries, or fuel cans might buy you what no debit card can. 6. Personal hygiene and medical waste management. This one rarely gets talked about, but it's brutally important. When sanitation systems fail, diseases follow fast. FEMA's post-disaster analysis reports that within 72 hours of a power or water outage, bacterial contamination skyrockets, not just in drinking water but in living spaces. You need a hygiene plan, not just supplies. Stock toilet paper, biodegradable soap, feminine products, diapers, razors, and hand sanitizer. But here's what FEMA doesn't emphasize enough. Medical waste. If someone in your family uses insulin needles, catheters, or bandages, you can't toss those into household trash during an outage. Use heavy-duty sharps containers or thick plastic jugs labeled biohazard. Store used items separately until disposal resumes. FEMA's CDC-aligned guidelines also mention chlorine bleach, not for laundry, but for sanitizing surfaces and purifying water. 8 drops per gallon, stir well, and let sit 30 minutes. Keep an unscented bottle sealed tight. It's shelf-stable for about 6 months. And never underestimate morale hygiene. Brushing your teeth, washing your hands, and changing clothes daily maintains physical and psychological stability. Studies from Katrina and Sandy show that households who maintained hygiene routines were 40% less likely to experience illness and mental distress. This isn't luxury, it's survival through cleanliness. Because in a grid-down America, the real threat isn't just darkness, it's disease. 5. Water purification and filtration systems. Most preppers stock bottled water, but FEMA's 2025 Emergency Resource Update makes it painfully clear. Stored water runs out, purified water lasts forever. When the taps go dry, when boil orders kick. In when rivers turn brown and taste like rust. That's when your purification setup becomes your single most valuable tool. The CDC estimates that 80% of post-disaster illness comes from contaminated water, not from injuries, not from starvation. We're talking cholera, E. coli, norovirus, and parasites that can lay eggs in your intestines. FEMA's official guidelines urge households to keep both chemical and mechanical filtration options. Translation? You need redundancy. Water purification tablets, chlorine dioxide is the gold standard. A gravity-fed filter like the Berkey or Katahdin, and portable microfilters such as the Sawyer Mini or Life Straw for travel. These systems remove 99.999% of bacteria and protozoa. But here's what FEMA doesn't tell you. Viruses can still slip through some filters. That's why pairing your filter with boiling or chemical treatment is non-negotiable. For long-term survival, consider investing in a solar distiller or a portable UV sterilizer. They kill pathogens without chemicals. Also, store unscented household bleach for water emergencies. 8 drops per gallon purifies most sources. Keep a note card taped to the bottle with precise ratios, because in panic mode, you'll forget. And one final truth, your body loses roughly 2.5 liters of fluid daily just from breathing and sweating. Without proper hydration and electrolytes, confusion sets in fast. In disaster conditions, dehydration doesn't feel like thirst, it feels like fatigue. So when FEMA says store water, they mean secure your life supply line. 4. Communication and signaling devices. When a blackout drags past day 3, information becomes your currency. FEMA lists emergency communication tools right after food and water because without intel, you're blind. In real-world disasters, ignorance kills faster than hunger. After the Maui wildfires of 2023, residents trapped without phone service missed evacuation alerts entirely. Some had 15 minutes between survival and suffocation. That's why FEMA's 2025 recommendations highlight redundant communication systems, battery-powered radios, whistle signals, flares, and personal locator beacons, PLBs. The average PLB can broadcast a distress signal up to 406 millimeters directly to satellites monitored by the Coast Guard, meaning rescue teams get your GPS coordinates within minutes. Handheld ham radios or amateur radios are another prepper goldmine. They can connect you to emergency frequencies long after cell towers die. The National Association for Amateur Radio reports a 60% increase in licensed operators since 2020, most driven by grid-down preparedness. Even a $30 handheld radio like the Baofeng UV5R can hit repeaters up to 20 miles away, linking you to local emergency networks. For short-range family communication, keep a few FRS or GMRS radios. They work without Wi-Fi or towers, ideal for coordinating between vehicles or neighborhoods. Don't rely solely on your smartphone. Towers fail, batteries drain, and apps crash. A compact solar or crank charger ensures your comms stay powered. And here's something every serious prepper does. Write down emergency frequencies, contact lists, and distress codes on waterproof paper. Digital notes vanish the moment the grid does. FEMA's own field manual states it clearly. The most prepared survivor is the one who can still communicate. 3. Backup. Heat and temperature control. When the power's gone and temperatures nosedive, your biggest enemy isn't darkness, it's exposure. FEMA ranks alternate heating among its top 10 life-saving resources because hypothermia doesn't wait for rescue. In sub-40°F conditions, it can set in within an hour, even indoors. During the 2021 Texas freeze, hospitals reported hundreds of cases of cold shock and carbon monoxide poisoning because people were improvising heat sources without ventilation. That's why FEMA's latest recommendations emphasize safe, off-grid heating options. Start with propane or butane heaters labeled indoor safe, like the Mr. Heater Buddy series. They're compact, portable, and built with oxygen depletion sensors. Keep extra fuel cylinders, but store them outside, never in living spaces. For zero-fuel heating, thermal blankets, reflective bivy sacks, and hand warmers can retain 90% of your body heat. Layering isn't fashion, it's physics. Trapped air between fabrics acts as insulation. But here's a FEMA insider tip most people ignore. Temperature control isn't just about heat, it's about preventing condensation, which breeds mold and respiratory problems when ventilation fails. Crack a window even in winter. Fresh air circulation is critical. For hot climates, keep battery-powered fans, cooling towels, and breathable clothing. Heat stroke kills quietly. Over 700 Americans die from it annually, often during power failures when air conditioning dies. FEMA also notes that maintaining core temperature between 97 to 99 degrees C preserves cognitive function, meaning you can think clearly under stress. In a blackout, your heater, blanket, and ventilation system become the difference between discomfort and death. So don't just store warmth, plan for it. Because in every grid failure, temperature is the silent killer that FEMA's been warning about for decades. 2. Self-defense and home security. When the lights go out, the rules of civilization flicker with them. It's not paranoia, it's data. FEMA and the Department of Justice both acknowledge that crime spikes by over 30% in the first 72 hours after a major power outage. When police response times double, when alarms go silent, and when the grid-dependent cameras stop recording, your home becomes your responsibility. That's why FEMA includes personal security under its broader emergency preparedness recommendations, because safety doesn't stop at food and water. You need layers of defense, physical, visual, and psychological. Start with reinforced locks and window bars, simple upgrades that prevent forced entry when looters come looking for supplies. Next, install battery or solar-powered motion lights around entry points. Even a few lumens of light can stop a trespasser in their tracks. During the 2003 Northeast blackout, home invasions surged in some cities by nearly 43% overnight, but neighborhoods with visible lighting and noise deterrents were largely left alone. For personal protection, FEMA won't tell you what to own. That's your choice. Whether it's pepper spray, a stun gun, a baseball bat, or a legally owned firearm, the point is control. Know how to use it, train with it, and above all, store it safely. Consider window film rated for impact resistance, a dog for early warning, and a portable door jammer for travel or apartment living. FEMA's 2025 safety report explicitly warns that preparedness without protection is incomplete, because during a blackout, the first line of defense isn't law enforcement. It's you. 1. Mental preparedness and community network. You can have every tool FEMA lists: water, radios, generators, food, but without the right mindset, you'll still fail. Every seasoned prepper knows the truth. The ultimate survival item is your mental state. FEMA's own emergency psychology division calls it resilience infrastructure, and it's as critical as any piece of gear. When disaster strikes, panic kills faster than hunger. Studies after Hurricane Maria and the Paradise Fire show that individuals who stayed mentally composed and socially connected had 50% higher survival and recovery rates. Why? Because they acted, not reacted. So here's the deal. Start building your mental muscle now. Practice blackouts. Turn off your power for a weekend. See how your family reacts. Build checklists, routines, and muscle memory. Stress inoculation is real. It trains your brain to perform under pressure. FEMA emphasizes community connection too. When neighbors share information, tools, or even watch shifts, survival rates skyrocket. After the 2022 Kentucky floods, one rural neighborhood survived nearly 4 days cut off from aid. Not because they had the best gear, but because they had a plan and a network. You can replicate that. Join CERT, Community Emergency Response Team training, or create your own local preparedness group. Keep a written plan, rally points, emergency contacts, and supply distribution routes. And remember, morale is contagious. Keep board games, music, books, and comfort foods. They sound trivial until you're sitting in the dark for the 5th night, wondering if the grid's ever coming back. FEMA's final directive says it all. Preparedness is not panic, it's power. So yes, stock your supplies, but more importantly, steel your mind. Because when America goes dark, the most valuable thing you can keep is clarity. FEMA's not guessing. They've seen what happens when the grid goes dark. After every major disaster, Katrina, Sandy, the Texas freeze, the data tells the same story. The unprepared suffer first, and they suffer longest. And right now, 2025, America is more fragile than ever. Power demand just hit record highs. The national grid is operating at over 93% capacity, and cyber attacks on utilities are up 400% since 2020. That means the next major blackout isn't a matter of if, it's when. So stop waiting for someone else to fix it. Build your kit, learn your tools, and prepare your home like nobody's coming to help. Because for the first 72 hours, nobody will. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button so more people see it before it's too late. Subscribe because every week I'm bringing you real survival strategies backed by FEMA data, field research, and first-hand experience. Stay alert, stay prepared, and remember, when the lights go out, the ready don't panic. They lead.